So I wanted to ask you a question. I was actually thinking about this for a while after like watching The Boys season 3. I want to ask you, would you rather in your life be conflicted for the rest of your life with love, or would you rather be conflicted with hate? And that being the driving force of all your
Damn,
decisions.
that's a fucking grandiose opening, or I don't know. That's a really deep question though. It's like I think love. Like I feel like hate lingers for a while, but I think it fades out eventually. I think love is a stronger emotion. Oh no, no, I think hate is a stronger emotion, but I think love is a longer lasting emotion.
Do you think that love anyway could lead to hate?
Oh
Like
yeah,
isn't it like a easy
of
gateway?
course, yeah. Love is
Yeah.
is probably the biggest like trigger I would say for a lot of like hate crimes. I would say, or love or the idea of protecting something, right? Or the fear of losing something. Like look at like that's why I love Revenge of the Sith. It's one of my favorite Star Wars movies because it's like it's not about him hating the Jedi Council. It's about him fear of losing Padme, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's a
for
great
sure.
question. How would you respond to that?
I think it's, it's two heads of a quarter. It maybe is the same thing. I mean, it's hard to differentiate it really. Like, for sure, parental figures, you love them and whatever, but like when it comes down to the nitty gritty of loving somebody else that you met and spent time with, and maybe perhaps something happened to them or they did something to you, it easily turns to hate, and so you can't live without that hate, and that just stays in your mind, kind of like love. So, like actions, you could do plenty of bad things for the love of something, you know, and you do plenty of bad things for the hate of something. So I think that's a driving force of everyone's life, really. Like that's why I like the boys so much because I think they're all afflicted by the same notions. I mean, they're human after all. They say they're not, but at the end of the day, they are. They just have like this disease of V.
Hmm.
That's how I really consider it. Like everyone does something for love. Homelander has his reasons, but sure. Like, what do
Do
you
you
think?
do you feel this series is popular because it's more grounded in realism and it's kind of just like a parody of like superheroes, or do you feel like it talks about issues we don't want to talk about?
I think it's a lot of things. I think it's holding up a mirror to society. It doesn't really pick a side in the political spectrum. I think that it also parodies, obviously, superheroes in general, and the whole thing going on with Marvel and DC. And I think that's why it's so relevant, and it'll always continue to be relevant. I think for years to come, just solely because of that. And I think the writers are genius. I think Kripke, the show creator, is a genius, honestly, because of that. And I think everyone is um, so passionate about this. Um, you could really tell. You could really tell that fucking like even with Brave Maeve and stuff like that. It's like it's funny because it's like woke too, and you think, oh, they're against like Democrat stuff, but then you see them making fun of the NRA, and you see them like Homelander basically is like the embodiment of Trump. You know, I think that makes it like it brings up good points, and it makes you think too. Like what's really important here, like those character defining moments, like what Starlight does, or Maeve, like these little moments, or Huey. I think that's the moments we really have to pay attention to.
Yeah, those are great points, man. Yeah, I feel like this show is so like when it first came out. I can't remember if it came out before the Trump administration, probably around that time. I think maybe COVID,
Yeah.
pre-COVID. But that's really when like politics like became such a like a norm, I would say. So
Right.
it's just
Yeah.
interesting. Like I well the first season I feel like it was very it didn't focus too much on like the political aspect of reality, but I feel like it definitely like was heavily influenced by a lot of things that were going on. Just with like the last previous elections and stuff, like a lot of the social movements going on. But I think the first season kind of like set its tone really well. Like a lot of like shows, it's hard to set up a first season because
Yep.
it's like how do we tell our story? How do we show what this show is about, right? And I think they hit the nail on the head so well in the first scene. Now watching it back, it is kind of like a little slower in the beginning. but it picks up really well, and I think the characters I can invest so much, just from the first season, and the second season I just have so many fond memories, just because that's when COVID happened, and then all I could really do is like stream television, and it was like, and I think also just like the way that they formatted to like Amazon Prime, just releasing it episode by episode, um, it makes you like we don't realize how spoiled we are in this age of
Yeah.
like streaming because we're so used to having like it's like a buffet now. It's like we can have everything, right? All this entertainment at the click of our fingers. But I think we forget sometimes that a lot of television shows were week by week, sometimes even like months almost. Like
Yeah.
you if you had like a
Yeah.
two-parter like series, like I think Walking Dead like did like a part one for season 4, and then you get to wait like a month for like part 2. So like now it just shows like how spoiled we are. But I love that the format of this show like makes you digest what you've seen. It really like makes you like talk about it and discuss it. And I think that's what the writers really wanted to was like they want you to not just see this as like, oh, it's like another like Marvel movie. We just watch it and then we're
Mhm.
done. Then we go on, we move on to the next one, right? It's like no, we kind of like we want you to really absorb what you're seeing and then make connections as well to your own reality as well. Um, that's the genius behind the writing of the show as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. And also, I'm giving credit to I think the comic books. They were absurd in the beginning. I think
Oh yeah.
the main writer yeah he wanted to give the project to I believe DC and have Superman actually instead of Homelander. But instead they opted to like they said no fucking way, get away from us. And so he decided to like parody all these characters. And this show is like way more tame than the comic books are. Um, but there's something about it. There's like a science behind the show where like you feel so addicted. Like I could like watch one episode that just released and then I could rewatch it again. There's something about it. It's just so funny and you notice so many nuances and details within each episode, especially this
Mhm.
season. I think the season was really great and it felt so different, especially traveling to Russia.
Mhm.
Well, every show, every season was really really pretty neat. Also I feel one of my favorite characters, I must say, is Homelander. I think probably a lot of people will be on the fence. I think because you kind of have to question your morality, because obviously he's a bad guy. You're supposed to hate him, right? When he does bad stuff, you kind of love it too
Mhm.
because it's like that shock value. But there's something deeper there. There's somebody who's like completely demented and twisted because of their past and their upbringing and basically actually no past. He was brought up in a lab, so I like how like I try to ask myself these questions, and I try to really ponder the question of if he grew up differently, or is there a redeeming quality behind him? I don't really know. And can we really forgive him? I find it hard to like forgive the Deep because of what he did to Starlight. But am I a bad person to like
Mhm.
let's say the Deep is now so selfless and he does great things. Am I a bad person now to forgive the Deep? When you question these, you know, I think that you got something there for a show. I think when you have these type of questions, I think that means that it's affecting
Well,
you
that's
differently, and
also
I like shows
yeah,
like that.
that's also like the great thing about each season too. It's because like I'll use A Train as an example because I've always talked about like how I've been like on the fence back and forth with him. But even
Yeah.
Homelander, like the worst character in the show, like as far as like personality, like there are moments where you actually like understand why. Like you may not like immediately sympathize with him, but you can understand why because he did not lead a normal childhood. And that the great psychology always talks about like, our childhood really influences who we are as a person. So, but yeah, A Train, like I'll use for example, like he has good intentions. I feel like he's a really redeemable character, but I think like he gets
Mhm.
swallowed up so much in his current events that he does, or like he's kind of like he's like those celebrities that like fall for their own fame in a way. Like they drink the Kool Aid
Mhm.
and they're kind of just like, oh yeah, I'm hot shit. So it's like there's no consequences, right? But the sad truth is there will always be consequence, no matter who you are. And that's one thing Butcher tries to emphasize with his character. It's like with great power, comes great responsibility, obviously. But Yeah, a lot of characters I feel like besides Homelander. Like even Soldier Boy like this season, like I feel like I kind of felt bad for him almost just because like yeah, he's a toxic person like Homelander and he did a lot of fucked up shit to pay back. But then when you realize like the shit he went through in like in Russia, I'm like, holy shit, like no human should like or even like superpower person should go through that. I feel like that kind of like sparked like I don't know like an empathy in me. But
Yeah, no, that's really good because yeah, I think it's supposed to. I think you're supposed to have conflicting feelings because there's so many sides now. There has always been sides, but I think now we're more divided than ever. And you see the Soups versus the Boys, and it's just like this ragtag team that they're just so together, and you kind of you want to be with them because they're the outcasts, and you kind
mhm.
of I think now people are more comfortable being the outcasts. And it doesn't get better, like especially when you're in a group like Vought. I really feel like destroyed so many lives, and so Soldier Boy, he did what he did. He became a Soup just because of his father, trying to make him proud. And in a way, he kind of ended up being just like his father, which I found that to be really really cool. How they pulled that off. That fucking shocked me. I like little moments. It's funny, like big moments in the boys. A lot of people will, like screenshot and shit like that. But like for me, I'd rather like screenshot like moments like that,
Mhm.
just because it hit me. It hit me in a certain way. I was like, damn. It meant so much. Like the words here are so powerful, and I think it's kind of underrated in this show, especially with all the shit
Do you have
happening.
like a favorite like
Um,
moment in any of the 3 seasons so far?
it's hard to say. I am disappointed we didn't join the orgy still. I
One
am
day,
disappointed that it didn't well, maybe you did. I feel like you're the type of guy that'll
probably.
join. I mean, I don't know. There were so many. I guess maybe because I'm more biased because we just finished watching The Boys. So probably Hero Gasm was kinda let down, so I'm not gonna lie. I think the last episode was really sweet, because there was so much going on. For the first season, I think the whole oh, no, actually, the second season, the whole thing with Butcher and Becca, I was really
Mm,
like, I was getting mad tea, I didn't know how to feel
mhm.
because of Ryan. Like, it made me question things too. Like, Soldier Boy said, "You're trying to defend, like, the guy who fucked your wife, basically, or the kid who from that guy." It's like, I don't even know if I really like Ryan. Like, he looks like a sweet kid, but I just don't know. I think those little moments. What about you?
Stormfront getting her ass beat Powerpuff Girls style by, Starlight,
Right.
Maven, Kimiko. That's like
Girls
you
get
wanna
it
talk about
done.
screenshot worthy moment, that Joan, like, I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, "Yeah! Get it!" I was like
Yeah.
no, that's, like, one of my favorite like, it's so crazy, like, the whole Stormfront thing happened. That was a curveball for me, honestly, because like, I don't know if she was like that in the comics, but, like, I didn't expect her to be a fucking Nazi. That was, like,
Yeah.
some wild, like, writing shit. I was like and sometimes it's like, oh, like, usually think when you think of, like, Nazis, they're always, like, the fucking, like, the evil scientist that, like, does experiments and shit or something, but, like, no, it's actually, like, in this series, it's like it's like, a feminine role model, and you wouldn't think that, and
Mhm.
she's not even, like, the typical, like, blonde hair, blue-eyed girl, right? She has, like, very dark hair, um,
Right.
yeah, it's crazy to me, like, how, like it feels like now, like, Homelander doesn't even feel like the main villain of his own show. It kinda feels like yeah, he is, like, the primary antagonist, but it feels like he gets outshined sometimes by, like, more evil people, like, even, like, Stan Edgar, you could say is, like, the biggest villain, or Victoria
Yeah.
Newman, like, people in politics who have, like, real power. Yeah, it's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
It's like even, like, Stormfront and Soldier Boy, even though they hold different, political ideologies, they still share, like, the same, like, toxic, like, traits, I guess.
Yeah, there's, like, different levels there's different levels and sides of being evil. And I appreciate that, seeing new takes on what an evil person is and what they can do. And I guess I can say Stormfront is a Nazi feminist, or at least on her side. And I find that actually not compelling, but I find that really like a cool mix, right? Just seeing that. Um, but let's talk about more about evil. So Soldier Boy, like, do you really think? I mean, yeah, he's an asshole, but he was like basically America's Captain America back in the day. And do you think he became worse because of the Soviet like torture? And he probably deserved it, whatever he did, because I know of what happened to MM.
Mhm.
So he probably deserved the torture. That was like his version of hell. But like, I wish he had more time to kind of reflect and like heal to see if he actually comes back as like a redeemable character. But unfortunately, he was just in the mix with Butcher. So Butcher was kind of like a bad influence on him because he didn't give him a chance to like really breathe and like rethink life.
Yeah, well, it's crazy because like I think Jensen Ackles even like I don't know if it's speculated, but I think he actually tried to go for the role of Captain America, but I
Oh,
think because
really?
of scheduling conflicts, he couldn't commit to the role. But he plays the role so well. I think this is actually the perfect role for him because he plays
Mm,
very gritty, dark, damaged characters. Like he's voiced Red Hood and Dean Winchester, people that have died and come back, and I think that works so well for this character because he kind of died and came back too. As far as like his personal hell, I feel like it was warranted, honestly, because like I don't know when we saw the Black Noir stuff, like what he did to like Payback and shit, like it's very toxic and yeah, he does come from like a different era too, but like I guess well, it's interesting because like I feel like he's a more accurate version of Captain America. Like he embodies the ideals of the 40s, right? And even the 50s, because like during
mm.
that time he was in Vietnam too, and a lot of like political shit was on in that time, and that era definitely wasn't like a PC. That's why I'm like so surprised like Captain America is like so open minded, and sometimes like I'm like I was like wow he was probably like the most liberal person back then, but yeah I don't know Soldier Boy kind of like he's his own brand of evil. I feel like what we talked about in our finale review. He kind of like embodies like the sins of the father, right? He
Mm.
represents like that generational hold that previous generations like keep on their kids like they're because they were so traumatizing in their childhood they never really learn to branch out and disconnect from that so it's kind of like they leave their mark on the next generation that's why I feel like he like seeing him like not so or so like casual about like killing Homelander even though he was son you could see like he had regrets about it but I feel like also because he saw Homelander as a disappointment I feel like I know. I think he didn't feel as remorseful about like killing his own son too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Oh, do you really, really believe that it can be like a generational thing, or maybe just people are evil? It doesn't matter what generation you're a part of. Like let's say Soldier Boy was born in 1995, and like he still went through the same shit. Like, is it still a generational thing? Like, it doesn't matter. Political sides aside, and generation stuff aside, like at the core, I think the most scariest thing is a person who has their own ideology and doesn't pay attention to society. And I think that's why it's really compelling because I feel like everyone has their own trauma and they're so depressed and it pushes them somewhere where they have to rely on this V, especially when you grew up with that. If anything, I would just say the generational thing comes from the V, and Vought's marketing. I think that's where they're mostly fucked up because you look at like people like Amanda Bynes and stuff like that, you know, like now, like I feel bad for her, but she's like pretty fucked up. Like imagine she was like hooked on Compound V, like when shit was going bad, or like Britney
What's she doing
Spears.
now? What's
Like
Amanda Bynes doing? I really that's the real question. What's she up to?
I don't know. I seen like I think she has like I don't know. I don't know. I think she
We need an
I don't
episode just
know. Good
for
luck
the
to Amanda
Nickelodeon
Bynes.
cast one day. But
Well, like you get what I mean. Like Captain America is cool because I think he, at least in my opinion, because I wouldn't want Captain America to be a Democrat, and I wouldn't want Captain America to be a Republican. I think he has to resemble humanity in America, and I think he has to stand for what's good. Um, Same thing with Superman. Superman was very like I think Republican, and that's why they kind of changed the catchphrase a little bit later
mhm.
on. At least sort like in the beginning, and now they kind of made him like more left. I think you can't politicize things.
Well, I think you
I
can't
think
even put certain political ideologies on a certain party either. 'Cause when you remember, like Democrats used to be like pro slavery too, and Republicans were basically what the Democrats were now. So it's like you can't like I mean, yeah, like certain parties like have stronger stances on things like abortion or like gay marriage or stuff, but there's a lot of like moderate people too. So I really feel like you can't label like Kamala says, you can't use labels. Sometimes.
yeah.
Like I feel like if I feel like if you give them a label like that, like they kind of become less I don't know, like less. they kind of become almost boring to me. I don't know. It's like
Yeah,
it's like you're kind of you're writing down their personality on a piece of paper and you're just handing it to me, right? It's not like you're showing me.
right.
Like I'd rather see like a person's beliefs through their actions than them just telling me or like, oh yeah, I'm a fucking I don't know Democrat or Republican whatever or like I'm pro choice pro life. I'd rather you show me, like at least in a series, I'd rather you show me than like really just tell me.
Yeah, that's what I really worry about Gen V coming up because I'm thinking like, are they gonna like go too political? Because a lot of like kids, especially growing up, are a little bit too political because they're starting to get into it. Like I rather not. I rather get into trying to see what your body's about and trying to see where you fit into the world as a good person and I really feel like V again. I keep saying it. V is like a poison, and Vault just a brand is a poison. Um, I wonder actually if Soldier Boy is like a Democrat or Republican. He seems very like John Wayne.
He's
He
probably
seems very
Republican.
John Wayne. I don't think so though. I really don't think so because you like yeah, it seems like that, but I think he's just like a John Wayne character. I don't think he's Republican. I think there is some act like some certain times you see him and it's not very Republican-y. Um, and I think if we say it is, I think that's not good because that's not what the boys represent. The boys doesn't represent like a Democratic show or Republican show. The boys represents it's a mirror, right? It's
Right.
making fun of
Yeah,
all
it's a
sides. It's
parody.
showing you what
That's
it
why I was
is.
saying, like, if you
Yeah,
just told me like he's a Republican, I'd be like, oh, okay, because then it kind of like ruins his character for me. It's like I don't want him to be like so described, you know?
yeah. I I think perhaps Homelander, which there's nothing wrong with fucking like being a Republican anyways. So I just want to put that out there, or a Democrat. But I think Homelander has more of a political affiliation. I know that the point of the parody, at least from the semiotics that we see, is that he's like a Trump type of figure, especially with
Oh,
the
yeah,
storm
all his
chasers,
supporters, yeah,
or
are definitely like right
yeah.
wing
So I,
extremists.
yeah, right. So that's how it's going down. But Soldier Boy is different. Like there's something about him. I think that's why he's such a great character too. And I feel like and we keep talking about Soldier Boy because he was like he stole the show really. Like when he came in, we were waiting for Soldier Boy. Everyone loves Jensen Ackles. Um, so and I think he did a phenomenal job. And his fucking voice too. That's why I keep saying John Wayne. Like he's such a I fought for this
Right.
country.
He's got
He's
like
so
such a
great.
like a testosterone infused like voice. It's like
When he speaks to you, he gives you like a
right.
testosterone boost.
Well,
So what do you think?
uh,
Oh yeah,
oh
go
well, I
ahead.
was gonna ask like moving on from like politics aside, like if you
Yeah,
want to talk about like I guess like morally great characters, like where they stand. Like, how do you feel like about Butcher?
I was gonna ask you that. Yeah, it's weird. I think Butcher is genuinely addicted to the hate. I think that's the only thing he has in his life. I think after what happened to Becca, Butcher was done really dirty, and Becca more so. Like imagine like he was so blind to the truth of like he thought all soups were just like some wankers or whatever and capes and stuff, but they were good
Hmm.
generally. And knowing that your wife was raped and having this bombshell dropped on you, you were so affected by that. Then you went on to get more military training in the CIA, and it was a revenge mission. I think you could compare a lot of people to the Punisher because they kind of go down a similar route, which is why the question in the beginning was really important because he was driven by love, perhaps, and now he's just driven by sheer hate. And it's really compelling to see that he's trying to kind of be a father figure or at least be nice to Ryan. Well, how can you be so nice to a kid when you are so affected by your own father? So what do you think about that though?
Butcher, like, man, his character like is so like cool as far as like I don't know. It's just something about him. It's like you want to hate him, but at the same time, he makes really good points too. And it's like, yeah, like I think they really emphasize that like Butcher and Huey have like different like ideologies and different methods how they go about things. I think Butcher is kind of just like the more like uh take action, ask questions later kind of guy, whereas Huey kind of like questions like the morality of like their actions. But I think like Butcher is justified in a lot of his thinking as well, and I think like he's a
Yeah.
necessary evil too. It's kind of
Right. Yep.
like he'll do the job that the government doesn't want to do, in a way. I think that's why they need him. They can't like just like get rid of him because and at the same time like they chose him because of his strong like when they do like psychological profiles and stuff. They know that he's so his hate for soups is so strong. But this season really like made me think like is he kind of like corrupting himself in a way? Is he becoming like so invested in life because he said like all soups need to die, right? And it kind of made me think of like
Mm,
Terminalist too, like when we are reviewing that, like how like Reese kind of like it became more it became less about avenging his uh wife and kid and more about like killing just everybody. So yeah,
yeah.
his character is like is great in just the sense that like he embodies revenge so well. But also I like that like Huey is kind of like his anchor, right? I know you hate the saying, but his
Mhm.
rock, like, his his
I knew that was
his
coming.
rock to humanity. Like he brings them back because I love that the
Mm,
season 2 like show like Butcher's like his own family and what he went through and why like it goes deeper behind like Homelander and his wife, right? Because he actually has hate for his father as well. So that hate didn't just start with Homelander; it started with his father. Um,
yeah, no,
but
absolutely.
Huey, I feel like Huey like really like is the rope that brings him back to like his humanity and we saw that with season 3. I think that was the strongest show of that where like he kind of like realized like he was basically like just another Lenny and he doesn't want to he we saw what happened with Lenny and I think he really doesn't want to repeat that. So I feel like he has to step back sometimes and realize like I feel like Huey really is like the soul of the boys, like honestly. Um but yeah,
Yeah,
what do you think?
yeah, yeah. I think Butcher is just racist against soups. And in comics, he said like
Soup
literally you
lives
could
matter.
replace right. Literally, you could replace sometimes when he says soups with like a derogatory term or something, and it almost it sounded so similar. It's just because he's so racist towards soups. Um, and that brings an interesting question, like how far do you go? Like once you wipe them all out, what's next? Really? Like, is there anything else next? And how much does that chip away from you? And
Mhm.
obviously, due to the temp V, his brain is like kind of Swiss cheese at at the moment, or at least he's gonna die soon, which I think is really tragic. I think everyone's tragic. I think if you want to look for people's souls, I think Huey, yeah, for sure. Huey, I think because Huey brings a necessary naivety to the boys, something that is naive but like sweet and tries to and a younger and fresher look, something that's unscathed, right?
Mhm.
Until what happened to Robin, and then also like the trauma of like his mom leaving. But I think also Frenchie. I think Frenchie has a lot of soul. Just trying to do right because of your past. Kimiko, like she's like in a comic, she's just called the female, right? Her identity is just the female. She's a savage animal. But there were little times where like they showed Frenchie and Kimiko just playing like I don't know, a puzzle, like you doing a puzzle. Yeah.
Trying to get
Yeah, exactly. There you go. I think MM also is like a good like I love MM
Laszlo fucking killed
in this
it as
series.
Laszlo. It's
Yeah.
such perfect typecast.
I love his voice. Like, I'm done, Butcher. I'm done. I just love when he's
Suck
like
my
yelling at
big
somebody.
black ball.
Oh, Butcher could suck my asshole. It's like,
The casual insults I
yeah,
love in this show.
no, I do. I know. I love it too. I wonder, like Starlight now is in the mix. I always said it since the beginning. I feel like Starlight's a really strong female character. A lot of people could say that about a lot of things, but I don't think it really matters. Like, if you're a female character that has like a gun or something, that doesn't make you a strong female character. Or like you just like are a badass. That doesn't make you a strong female character. That just makes you a badass. That just so happens to be female. But to actually embody a strong female character, it seems kind of like a feminist movement for the boys to do the certain things they did to Starlight, because she went through so much shit and she stayed strong, and since she was young, she learned that lesson from her mother. So in a way, I kind of give credit to her mother, because yeah, the mother, I'm conflicted on that because that's such like a real world situation as well. But I think that because of those lessons and things that she suffered by, I think she ended up being on the top as possibly one of the most strongest female characters in The Boys. I mean,
Mm,
Kimiko, great, but like we see more of Starlight and her actions and what she had to go
mm,
through.
that's so true.
I don't
Yeah.
know how you feel.
Well, I hate to like say like female character. I'd rather just say she's a strong character, honestly. But she
Yeah.
did go through a lot of very feminine oriented struggles as well. Like we saw, it's kind of reminded me of Trish from Jessica Jones. Like she had a very
Mhm.
toxic relationship with her mother, and she kind of had this very like cute like farm girl upbringing, where like she was kind of like raised to impress, right, without really having an opinion of her own. And we saw that with the first season. She was just kind of like Huey in a way. Like I feel like Starlight was Huey to the Soups. She was a very naive character. She didn't know what she was getting involved in. Um, and she kind of like resented these people in a way, and it kind of changed her in a lot. And that's why I love like the bathroom scene with her and Maeve, because like that's their
Oh
first
yeah.
real connection. And Maeve even mentioned that in the last episode of the season too. But yeah, I mean she's definitely grown as a character, and I love seeing like Erin Moriarty does a great portrayal of her. And it's so funny too because she was in Jessica Jones too. um,
Oh
yeah, she
yeah,
played
yeah,
that
yeah.
very. She played the
Season
girl that
one.
was raped by Kilgrave too. So
Right.
she knows like her characters. Like I feel like she plays like she embodies like very like damaged women really well. Like she empowers them a lot. I feel like yeah, it's just interesting like the
Yeah.
parallels between like her and Huey like. And then when they get together too, it's so like interesting how like their paths cross too. But I don't know. I feel like how do you feel like about like Huey getting like powers this season, and then Butcher as well? Because I feel like Butcher became like a hypocrite this season.
Yeah, there were complete parallels to who they hate. So like again, I think we talked about this before. Um, Huey can basically teleport anywhere, and A Train can run super fast, and obviously, Butcher just like Homelander. I think it opened Huey's eyes. I think it's a different experience for him to like it's kind of like a training, like to understand your enemy, and also like I think you could find more sympathy for your enemy as well. Because now you know what they're going through with their powers. We see Huey smile when Kimiko was hurt really bad, and Butcher didn't care about what was going on. So it kind of like puts you in a different mindset. You're just like in a different reality. And I don't, but to be honest with you, I don't really know if Huey actually figured that out. I think the whole point was that Huey like feels like he needs to save Starlight. So I think that was the most important part. I don't think it was like a thing where Huey realizes, oh, yeah, this is making me feel bad. No, he would have took the temp V again if Butcher hadn't stepped in. So yeah.
Yeah, I think he just kind of let the power go to his head. I think like I can understand why, because I feel like if like even like Starlight aside, like I feel like he also feels like powerless with the boys as well because they all kind of like have like like combat or military like background and stuff, and he's just kind of like this dude that like sold like electronic equipment, so he's kind of like out of place with them. But then when you throw like Starlight in the mix, it's kind of like I can understand his insecurities as well because you kind of want to feel like not powerless too, especially like when that scene where like he had to stand up to Homelander too. It's like what do you do in that situation? And I feel like in a lot of relationships, I feel like a lot of guys can feel like that too. It's like yeah, it's like it's understandable to feel that way. Sometimes you want to feel like you're not like the weaker half of the relationship too. But I mean, it's not really justified in a way, but I can understand like those kind of feelings as well.
But that's why, and now you bring it up. That's why I admire Starlight so much too, because she's fighting like people, like not with her powers, but just with her voice as well. I think that's really important. Huey, I don't know. Huey tried to do basically what Starlight started to do, like try to bring more awareness or try to do things the fair way, and everything's tainted. I think one critique people have about the comics is that it's too over the top, not with the gore and stuff, but too over top with how people treat each other and
Hmm.
behave. And yeah, perhaps I could say the same thing. Like I don't really know if this reality will be the same if Soups were actually around. I don't really know. But I think The Boys is much more than that. I think it's much more than Soups.
Hmm.
You could replace the superpowers with anything, and it's just being over people. I think you could probably say even like being more wealthy, wherever, whatever you want to replace it with. I think that's why The Boys is such a compelling show.
Mhm.
Um,
Do you think
unless some people, yeah.
I was gonna say, do you think, we haven't even touched on, like, the graphic nature of the show, but, it's definitely known for its, very explicit content,
Uh,
why do you think that works so well for this show as opposed to, like, other shows?
Because it seems like a black comedy sometimes the way how it's approached. It does it's not. I would say like it's. I don't even feel like it's super over the top sometimes. That I seen plenty of blood and guts before, and they didn't even show nudity that much in in the show. Like I think Hero Gasm was the only time I seen like people were actually nude, and also like just season 3 in general. That's when it hit it hard. I think probably like previous before like something else, minor thing, but it wasn't that bad. I think with the blood and guts, it's not the blood and guts, it's the way how the characters react. And it's kind of like this thing where it's so like sarcastic, I'd say, to like different genres. Um, I think that's why it does so well. And then plus like just Butcher's like grin,
Mhm.
like bloody diabolical and stuff like that. It makes the whole show really delicious to consume, I'd say. What about you? What do you think?
It's weird, but I have to say, like, this is the most classiest I've ever seen, like, people use, like, gore. Like, it's not like I feel like
Mm, yeah.
there's some movies and shows where it does feel over the top, like, you watch, like, a fucking, like, Friday the 13th movie or something, like or, like, the blood is just, like, spraying all over the room or some shit, but
Mm,
I feel like in this show, when they do, like, graphic content, like, it feels almost tasteful in a way. It's like
mm,
it's so appropriate for the scene or the character or even the fucking the milk shit with Homelander. I feel like it just
mm,
attributes to his character and how repressed he is, and he's still kind of like immature, and he still needs that, like he never had like a real mother to really breastfeed with, so he kind of like still harbors those like innate, you know, I guess natures, I guess. But yeah, I mean, like the even like the violent, like a lot of people will shit on like the animal cruelty in this show, but
it's not
I
yeah.
feel like it adds a like you have to suspend your disbelief. Obviously, these weren't like real situations where like they use real live animals. I feel like you have to suspend your
Right.
disbelief sometimes, but I don't know. It's funny to me. Like it complements the seriousness of like the show sometimes, and I think it's a good balance.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the fucking animal thing, I always found that so stupid. Like, some of the CGI is like even bad for the
I
octopus.
know.
Like, what? I does like PETA? Like, some people think like, oh, they're spreading animal cruelty ideology. Now, kids and other people will want to like fuck an
Right,
octopus or
yeah.
something. It's like it doesn't make sense to me, really. So, well, any other thoughts?
Well, I mean, this show overall, I feel like it's doing a great job for television, I'd say. Just it's so entertaining, but it's like it's so delicious, like you said, like as far as like content. Like I feel like every episode I feel like satisfied. Like there's not like one episode where I'm like just like, it was like it left a bad taste in my mouth. I feel like every episode kind of just makes me want more and more.
Mm,
I just hope that this show doesn't fall for its own fame too, or like it kind of becomes so ridiculous that they kind of like make the writing cheesy. And it's harder when you have a series that's so, spans over the span of like 3 or 4 seasons. It gets harder to become more fresh. Um,
yeah.
but I think Kripke's doing a good job with this, and I think like the fact that it doesn't take too much from the comics and it kind of like takes more from reality, I think is a strength of this show, and it really talks about like the real. And it's so funny, like we talked about like how like the timing of these seasons, they take place like during like critical moments, like the fucking January 6th hearings. Like right now, it's so like incredibly like coincidental, but it I don't know. I feel like they really have like a crystal ball, and they're like looking into the future and shit, or like it's like knowing or something, or like the Mothman
It's like The
Chronicles
Simpsons.
or
Yeah, yeah.
something. um, yeah, this show is amazing. I definitely like highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it. With it, and that's the great thing too. It's not a Marvel or a DC or like a dark horse product, or like, if you're on the fence, if you're like, if you're one-sided, I guess, to one of those properties, it's a parody of everybody, and I really feel like I think like it's less about superheroes, honestly, and more about real world issues. I think the superheroes are just like a parody of that because they're so over the top sometimes, and I think sometimes there's over the top things that happen in real life. So I feel like that using that as an outlet, I think really illustrates the point.
Oh yeah, and actually, really, like, nobody really gives credit to Amazon,
Oh
like
yeah.
Prime, because Prime, like, yeah, like the content, like, yeah, the terminal list, and a lot of people were hating against that because the current political climate, and then you have the boys, and they could do whatever, and then you have like other shows, like one of my favorite horror shows called Them, I believe it's called Them, where it's like a completely like you if you guys haven't checked it out, I mentioned that in my Halloween the Halloween special. It's fucking like crazy. They make like racists like
Mm.
basically super like demons and stuff. Amazing show. It's like it's so flexible, and I really like that. I feel like that's what Netflix should be, but now Netflix have like they're falling from like everyone's
I
graces,
was gonna ask you, do you think this series would still be the same, or do you think it'd be diluted if it was like a Netflix property?
Yeah, I think it'll be diluted for sure, 100% sure. Yeah. I think that Prime they needed somebody to get eyeballs into their platform. It was one of the first shows besides Miss Maisel or something like that. It was one oh, and The Man in the High Castle. Those were like the type of benchmark shows like that brought people in, and I think The Boys kept
And
people
now like
there.
Invincible
And
is inspired as well. Yeah.
Invincible, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
But I guess that that wraps up our thoughts in our first episode about Let's Talk About. If you guys made it to end, we greatly appreciate you. I mean, oh, this is a little bit straying from our original format, but we just wanted to show you guys like how we really talk to each other without the strictness of actually doing a review and those formats.
Mhm.
So, well, you could expect this, like, right, Dylan? I think we could do this a couple of
Yeah, guys,
times.
if you
Like,
have a topic you'd like us to discuss, please like comment
yeah,
below. We love to be like free form and casual like this, where we kind of just have our fresh thoughts. It's really
yeah,
refreshing, actually. I hope we do more episodes like this. This is a really good discussion, I feel like. But yeah, please leave a comment if you have a topic or a subject you'd like us to go over. We're happy to take it. We take anything. But yeah, we
yeah,
this will be the first episode of this series. But yeah, definitely check out our reviews as well. We also have great points as well in our review videos. Like we just wrapped up Resident Evil, Thor, Miss Marvel, Obi-Wan Kenobi. So many great shows as well, and of course The Boys as well. So Akram, any final thoughts for us?
yeah. Please, if you guys can check out our socials, and also if you're a big fan of like just not looking at our ugly faces, go to Anchor and hear
Maybe
our
Akram
beautiful
more than me.
voices. We're the sirens of podcasting, so we'll get you hooked on. Hopefully, I mean that's the hope. Yeah, if you guys can please like, subscribe, check out our other playlists. I think you guys are in for a treat for August. We have She-Hulk, Andor, we have The Sandman, we have, and for
House of the
September we have Handmaid's
Dragon.
Tale,
Yeah.
House of the Dragon, Lord of the Rings, and we have plenty of other neat ideas. We kind of want to get into other type of like formats for our videos, and I think it's going to be really cool. And I can't wait for you guys to listen to it. So, as always, Dylan.
Well, please check us out on all our platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and of course our YouTube channel where you can watch our ugly mugs every day. But we're expanding as a podcast. We have a Facebook now. We have a TikTok. We have our Instagram. You can watch all our clips from all our episodes if you don't have the time to, or if you're at work and you just want to watch like short little clips of our videos. Check them out and share them with your friends, and hopefully they like it too, and they'll invest in our podcast as well, because we're a very small podcast, but I feel like we have great points sometimes. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but thank you guys so much if you stayed to the end of this video. It really means a lot to me and Akram. So until then, guys, thank you for having lunch with us.
See you guys. Subhumans.